Hello and welcome to another edition of the Presbyterian podcast. My name is Gethin Russell-Jones. During Holy Week this year, we are releasing 2 podcasts. This is the second edition, focusing on the situation in Gaza from a Welsh perspective. We hear from 2 voices. The Rev Anna Jane Evans is a Presbyterian Church of Wales minister in Caernarfon. Anna Jane is part of a weekly vigil in the town, calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The Rev Mones Farah is an archdeacon within the church in Wales, serving in the DIocese of St. David's. Mones describes himself as an Arab Palestinian with Israeli citizenship. He brings a unique dimension to this conversation. The conversation with Anna Jane is in Welsh, whilst the one with Mones is mainly in English. Helo a chroeso I rifyn arall o'r podlediad Presbyteraidd. Fenw I yw Gethin Russell-Jones. Dros yr wythnos fawr eleni, rydyn ni'n rhyddhau 2 podlediad. Dyma'r un yn canolbwyntio ar y sefyllfa yn Gaza o safbwynt Cymreig. Clywn o 2 safbwynt gwahanol. Mae'r Parch Anna Jane Evans yn weinidog Eglwys Bresbyteraidd Cymru yng Caernarfon, ac mi hefyd yn rhan o wythnos wythnosol yn y dre, yn galw am gadoediad ar unwaith yn Gaza. Mae'r Parch Mones Farah yn archdeacon o fewn yr Eglwys yng Nghymru, yn gwasanaethu yn Esgobaeth Dewi Sant. Mae Mones yn ddisgrifio ei hun fel Palesteiniad Arabaidd gyda dinasyddiaeth Israel. Mae'n dod â dimensiwn unigryw i'r sgwrs hon. Mae'r sgwrs gyda Anna Jane yn Gymraeg, tra bod yr un gyda Mones yn bennaf yn Saesneg, gyda tipyn bach o Gymraeg. Wel, ymuno dy fi nawr yw'r parchedig Anna Jane Evans, gweinidog yng Caernarfon, ac sydd wedi bod yn weithgar iawn efo wythnos arbennig sy'n cael ei gynnal yng Caernarfon ynglŷn â Gaza. Croeso i ti, Anna Jane.
Diolch yn fawr, Gethin, mae'n dda bod yma.
So, Anna Jane, i rhai ohonom sydd ddim yn gyfarwydd ar wythnos yng Caernarfon, neu'r mae yna sawl wythnos wedi bod yn y gogledd yn arbennig. Lle di esbonio ni beth sy'n digwydd?
Wel, da ni wedi bod yn cyfarfod yng Caernarfon bob nos Sul am 5:30 ers dechrau y gyflafan yma yn mis Hydref a deud y gwir. Da ni wedi bod yn ymgynnull ar y maes ac yn cael cyfnod o dawelwch efo canwyll. Da ni wedi cael siaradwyr neu bobl yn canu, da ni wedi cael beirdd yn darllen barddoniaeth, da ni wedi cael aelodau seneddol a chynghorwyr yn siarad. Da ni wedi gwneud nifer o bethau gwahanol. Da ni wedi cynnal protestiadau tu allan i McDonald's a Marks and Spencer's a Burger King a rhai o'r cwmnïau sydd yn ariannu ac yn cefnogi Israel. Da ni wedi gwneud bob math o bethau, dweud y gwir. Gaethon ni rali fawr yn Caernarfon dydd Sadwrn diwetha. Da ni wedi dechrau trafod efo grwpiau eraill ar draws y gogledd, achos mae yna ddigwyddiadau wedi bod yn digwydd. Mae yna wythnos yn y Wyddgrug yn wythnosol, mae yna wythnos yn y Bala'n wythnosol, mae yna grwpiau ym Mhrestatyn ac yn Wrecsam, ac ar hyd y gogledd mae i gyd wedi bod yn cynnal digwyddiadau, a da ni wedi dechrau trafod i gael rali fawr yn Rhyl ar y 30 o Ebrill, felly mae hwnna wrthi'n cael ei gynllunio. Ar hyn o bryd efo siaradwyr. Un o'r pethau mwyaf arwyddocaol sydd wedi cyffwrdd bobl da ni wedi gwneud yn Caernarfon ydy, da ni wedi bod yn cofnodi enwa rhai o'r plant wedi cael eu lladd. Mae yna wefan, mae achub y plant a mudiadau eraill wedi cofnodi rhai o'r enwa, a nes i brintio nôl yn mis Tachwedd, nes i brintio 2,500 o enwa plant sydd wedi cael eu lladd. A da ni wedi bod yn, gaethon ni sheet anfarth o canfas gen Kevin Burgess, a da ni wedi bod yn cofnodi yr enw ac oed y plentyn, A mae bobl wedi bod yn mynd ar plentyn ar wyth adref o nhw. A mae bobl wedi cael eu cyffwrdd yn fawr iawn a dweud y gwir. Mae wedi bod yn rhyw ffordd o dorri'r numbers mae lawr i unigolion a storiau unigol. Mae wedi bod yn beth pwerus iawn iawn i wneud. Gesson ni brotest mawr dydd Sadwrn ac oedd na ferch Shamia o Palestina oedd wedi bod yn siarad yn cynhadledd y blaid yn galeri. A nath hi siarad ar y maes. Ac un o pethau na i fyth anghofio nath i ddeud oedd bod na gymaint wedi lladd a bobl Palestina ddim wedi cael cyfle i alaru na hyd yn oed i gyfri a chofnodi'n iawn pwy sydd wedi cael ei lladd o blith i teuluoedd nhw hunain. Heb sôn am gymdogion a ffrindiau a theulu estynedig. A gath hi chyffwrdd yn fawr iawn gan y canfas, oedden ni wedi gosod y canfas ar wal capel y maes ar y ffens. Ac achos bod hi'n benwythnos Sul y Blodau, bobl yn gosod bloda i goffhau y plant. Ac oedd hi wedi cael ei chyffwrdd yn fawr iawn gan y ffaith bod ni wedi bod yn cofnodi enwa. Oedd hi'n deithio ni, mae eisiau chi gofio storia unigolion. A pa mor bwysig ydy hynny.
So gyda'r wythnos yng Caernarfon enghraifft, Anna Jane, faint o bobl sy'n ymgynnull yn wythnosol, bydde ti'n dweud?
Mae o'n amrywio, mae o'n lleia gethon ni, oedd noson storm isa. Es i lawr i'r maes, achos ddim yn well i fi fynd. A mae yna un myfyrwraig o Bangor, chwarae teg, mae hi yna bob wythnos, mae'n dod ar y bws, ac oedd hi wedi dod ar y bws drwy'r storm, ac oedd hi'n eistedd ar y maes sy'n disgwyl i fi gyrraedd. Ac oedd yna rhyw 5-6 ohono ni noson honno. Ond mae wedi bod gymaint a 70-75 ar ambell i noson arall. Mae yna rhyw 10 ar 20. Mae yna amrywio. Mae wedi bod yn nosweithiau tywyll oer glib. Mae wedi bynnu ar y tywydd a'r geilaidd bobl hefyd. Ond mae wedi bod yn beth diddorol i wneud. Mae yna gymysgedd. Oedd rhywun yn gofyn i ni beth oedd enw'r grŵp. A da ni ddim wedi ffurfio grŵp dan unrhyw fath o un faner. Da ni gyd yn dod o, mae'n aelodau o Stop the War, mae'n aelodau o Palestine Solidarity Campaign, mae'n aelodau Cymdeithas y Cymod, a nifer o fudiadau, a bobl sydd ddim yn perthyn i unrhyw fudiad o gwbl, ond da ni gyd jyst yn rhannu'r un ddyhead a'r un alwad am gadoediad a chyfiawnder yn y diwedd, achos mae'r sefyllfa yma mae'n ddirdynol yn dydio. Mae'n gwbl afresymol o erchill i fan hyn.
O'n i'n mynd i ofyn i ti, Anna Jane, beth gyda siwr amrywiaeth o bobl gyda chefndir crefyddol Crisnogol, felly nifer sydd â rhyw fath o cefndir gwleidyddol mwy na dim byd arall. Ond beth os yna rhywbeth sy'n un o pawb, mae'n falle bod yn gwestiwn dwl, ond os yna un peth sy'n dod â pawb at ei gilydd, bydde ti'n dweud?
Ond swn i'n meddwl bod galar a thristwch a dicter ynglyn â'r holl beth hefyd. Dwi'n meddwl bod y 3 peth yna a dwi'n meddwl bod ni gyd yn credu pan ydyn ni'n dod o safbwynt ffydd a'i ffydd, ydyn ni gyd yn credu bod y byd yn gallu bod yn lle gwell. Ac y dylse bod yn lle gwell. A bod gennym ni gyd dyletswydd i wneud yn gorau i wneud o'n lle gwell. Dwi'n meddwl mae dyna sy'n yn huno ni'r dyhead yna i wireddu be ddyla'r byd fod yn hytrach na'r cael yn sicno mewn i'r twllwch dychrynllyd yma. A mae yna rhywbeth, dwi'n meddwl bod canwyll hefyd, dwi'n meddwl bod pawb, mae yna rhywbeth am canwyll yn does na, oedd a hogyn ifanc yn sefyll oedd gennym ni yn yr wythnos nos Sul diwetha yma, oedd na rhyw hogyn ifanc wedi dod, oedd o'n edrych ar un o'r baneri, oedd o'n mynd deall, gennym ni faner yn dweud bod ein harfa ni yn lladd plant. Ac oedd o'n gwybod beth oedd arfa, dwi'n meddwl. A sydd o'n sefyll ac yn edrych ar y poster, ar y faner, a nes i fynd ato fo a gofyn os oedd o'n oce, achos oedd o'n sefyll efo can o gwrw'n edrych ar Oedd wedi dod yn ôl ac ymlaen, oedd wedi dod yna sawl gwaith ac edrych ar hwn ac yn trio gweld beth oedd ni'n neud. So eisiau ato fo gofyn, a nath ofyn, be mae hwn yn feddwl? So nes i ddeud, wel, da ni'n anfon arfa neu weapons i Israel, medda fi. A nath o ddeud, so da chi'n erbyn y peth? Ydan, meddwl ni, da ni eisiau heddwch. A nath o ddeud, o gai ganwyll. A nath o sefyll yna efo ni, efo'i gan cwrw ni'n llaw, ac efo ganwyll yn y law arall, just isio bod, a isio teimlo bod o'n gallu gwneud rhywbeth. Ac mae'n rhywbeth, pethau bach hwnna'n cyffwrdd rhywun, dwi'n na.
Yn hollol.
O'n i'n clirio'r baneri ar ôl yr rali dy Sadwrn, o'n i'n tynnu'r baneri lawr ar bloda o flaen capel y maes, so nhw'n edrych yn eithriadol o effeithiol nhw'n dod o hogyn arall, a gofyn i ni beth oedd hein. Achos I used to be a soldier, meddwl fo, dwi di lladd bobl. A sy'n ni byth yn neud o eto, meddwl fo. Dyna pam dwi'n gallu cysgu nos, meddwl fo, dwi di lladd bobl. Chwn i'n meddwl, mae'r bobl yma'n cwmpas ni'n rhan o'n cymunedau ni wedi cael ei drysu'n llwyr gan brofiadau, maen nhw wedi cael ei rhoi yn nhw i hunin. Ac yn gwylio hyn ar y teledu rwan ac yn cael ei drysu o'r newydd gan yr holl beth yn dydyn nhw.
Odyn. Wel, Anna Jane, os oedd gen ti'r gallu i newid, be bydde ti'n newid ar unwaith yn y sefyllfa yn Gaza ar y foment?
Wel, swn i'n stopio'r bomio yma, stopio'r lladd yma. A swn i wedi stopio arfogi nhw mewn llywodraeth ni ac America yn dal i anfon arfa i Israel hyd yn oed rwan yn ganol hyn i gyd. Da ni'n gollwng bwyd o drawyrenna ni'n llaw, a da ni'n gollwng bombs ni'r llaw arall, beth yn gwbl wasgo. A swn i'n newid llywodraeth Israel, da ni'n llywodraeth asgell de gwbl eithafol gan Israel, a dydy bobl Israel ddim o blaid i llywodraeth i hunin, ddim mwy na gyda ni o blaid yn llywodraeth ni. A maen nhw'n cael ei signo mewn i'r holl beth ac yn rhoi pobl i hunin dan fygythiad terfysgaeth o bob math, achos y cytundeb sy'n cael ei hau yma. Mae yna rai bobl sy'n mynd i fod yn cefnogi'r peth, achos mae propaganda yr cyfryngan Israel llawn mor beryglus a grymus ac ydy propaganda'n newyddion a'n cyfryngan ni'na. Ond mae yna bobl, mae yna rabbis ac iddewon allan ar y strydoedd yn protestio'n erbyn y beth hefyd, a swn i'n meddwl bod o'n cymryd dewrder dychrynllyd i wneud hynny yn Israel. Mae yna iddewon a Mwyslemiaid wedi bod yn rhan o'n gwylnosa ni hefyd. Da ni'n dod, mae yna bobl just isio heddwch ac yn credu bod heddwch yn bosib. Mae yna rhywbeth am tawelwch hefyd. Mae cael, pan ydyn ni ddechrau sôn bod ni'n mynd i gael munud o dawelwch, y bobl yma bod munud yn rhy hir, ond erbyn hyn mae'n mynd yn 5 munud, a mae bobl yn mwynhau y cyd sefyll yna, a just mae yna rhywbeth ystyrlon a pwerus dychrynllyd mewn, just sefyll mewn dawelwch. Achos does da ddim geiriau dyd y gwir na gwrs.
Well, I'm joined now by the Reverend Mones Farah, who is the Archdeacon Missioner for the Diocese of St. David's, Dewi, in Wales. Welcome to you, Mones.
Thank you, Gethin. Great to be with you.
Coming. Well, Mones, I know something of your backstory, and it's a very fascinating story, particularly with the unfolding events in the Middle East at the moment. I wonder how you would describe your national identity.
My roots and the roots of my family go back to a small village on the borders with Lebanon since the beginning of the 19th century. And so we were under the Turkish Ottoman Empire till the end of the First World War, where we came under the British mandate. And in 1948, our village was ethnically cleansed by a unit of the Israeli army in November 1948. And so my family became a internally displaced family refugee in the northern parts of Galilee. So that gives you the background of belonging. I would describe myself often as a Phoenician Arab Palestinian with Israeli citizenship.
As you look over, the current situation between Israel and into Gaza since last October, I wonder, someone who hails from that part of the world, what are your feelings as we're all hearing the same news reports, daily news reports? How are you processing all of this?
I have to be honest with you, shock to begin with for the 7th of October attack. It took me a couple of weeks just to articulate that my people, or the people who are Palestinians, will allow themselves to do something of the atrocities described that were done. It's just my mind, my heart, my spirit, my soul just struggle to accept that. That is not to deny the fact as it is described. I'm not denying that. I'm just speaking about a personal response. Because understanding of our people is that we just don't do what we would describe to have done. Maybe it's just a denial of reality, but I'm convinced that that's not the case. At the same time, when the Palestinian begins to suffer, I couldn't believe that people who suffered the way that the Israelis have suffered will do something like this as well. So that sense of denial on both sides, that we can get to that state, especially after such a hopeful period between 95 to 98, till the assassination of Rabin. The feel of the country was very, very different. There was a sense of building a joint society, building a society that will reject the past oppressions for both people and move forward into a new reality. I suppose because I am an Arab national, Arab Palestinian national, and Israeli citizen, I feel it from both sides. I feel the pain of both sides. And I'm not just saying this as empty words, it really is the reality. So I find myself weeping when I see the people killed in Palestine, in Gaza, in the West Bank. And I find myself weeping for the people that were killed and continue to be killed through even the soldiers that are killed in battles in Gaza. These are somebody's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's brother, somebody's sister, somebody's dad, and somebody's mother. And for that, it really is, I think, is awful what's happening on both sides. The scale is so different, so it takes it into a different ball game altogether. But nonetheless, the pain is articulated from both sides. And one of the greatest pain is that increase of hatred and fear that is actually gripping the country. The sense of desire for vengeance in the country from both sides. And this is not going to be something that is going to come to an end soon. There are traumatized people. I was in Israel, Palestine, met people from both sides of the formula, including a rabbi in the Jewish settlement in Hebron. I spent time with them, and Christian leaders and Muslim leaders from the Arabic population, both in Palestine and in Israel, and the sense of ever increasing sense of hopelessness. It was palpable, especially on the Palestinian side. But that not to say that there are voices all throughout that kept trying to bring people together. The biggest problem that I sense is a disappointment in the Western Church. It's a disappointment on Western leadership of liberal democracies. that they have chosen because of the atrocity that was experienced on 7th of October. And let me reiterate, I think it was absolutely terrible, despicable, I would say. They forgot that it wasn't just one moment in time. And I think that is the danger of what we are dealing with. We speak about one moment in time. Before that, for the West Bank, it's been going on since 1967, 56 years, and is documented by Israeli press, the way that the Palestinians in 67 borders been treated. But before that, those who were within Israel itself, and even the Palestinians in the 67, they were ethnically cleansed from Israel itself, what is called Israel today, the state of Israel today, the 1948 border, according to the definition of international law and agreements. My family, for example, is an internally displaced refugee family from a small village on the borders with Lebanon, that our homes and our land were taken. And my father and mum were 9 and 10, and they grew up trying to articulate that into their existence. And we ourselves and my children have to also understand that. So you've got a back history, and it's not a moment in time. And that has disappointed me in the church in the West, and in the church and the liberal political elite that are willing to not see causes and effects. But the greatest thing that I see is, how are we going to get over blame, hatred, vengeance, and fear? And I'm not sure that just the mere human agreements and philosophy will be able to deal with that. I think we need something deeper than that to be able to deal with these 4 elements that is tearing us apart and tearing us up for both sides of the formula, both sides of this war. And I'm not just going to undermine it by calling it a conflict. It's bigger than a conflict.
Well, you whetted our appetite a little bit there, Mones, by referring to human agreements and philosophy may not prove, something deeper is required. Yeah, with an area which is so, let alone the numerous Christian denominations, but of course multiple faith traditions in that. How is that possible, do you think?
I think, I mean, for my reflection has been recently on the statement in the Hebrew Bible, if I want to be neutral in describing this and not call it the Old Testament, but in the Hebrew Bible, there is a clear mandate that declares that vengeance is mine, says the Lord. And so when I'm trying to respond to any attack against me, I'd better leave it in the hands of God. So there is a pathway that can be seen. The other one is, there is a concept in Scripture, in both in the Hebrew Bible and in the New Testament, in the Gospels and the Epistles, that declares that human beings are made in the image of God. In Hebrew, the word is b'tselem, in the image. So every human being has an inherent value, and no action on their part can reduce them to nothing, because they carry the image of him that in Judaism you cannot even mention his name, the name of God, because it's too holy to mention, yet they're made in that too holy image, and so it has infinite value. In Islam, it's very similar. There is the sense of he who takes a life destroys the whole world, or he who saves a life saves the whole world. And God is described by 99 different names. There are 100 names all of them are the most kind, the most generous, the most honoring, and the greatest one that Muslims start his prayer with, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the merciful, the most merciful. So the concept of mercy is in Christian teaching, is in Jewish teaching, is in Islamic teaching, and through that we have a path that we can follow. So revenge is not it's not something that both Islam and Judaism, if they're both following the proper teaching, is something that you should enter into. In fact, what Muhammad did, the Prophet Muhammad in Islam did, is he changed the concept of revenge of the Arabian Peninsula and limited that absolutely drastically into the way you behave towards others. And both Christian, Islamic and Jewish history have shown some of the most devastating, I have to say that, warmongering oppressions through certain parts of their histories, but all three also have shown the most beautiful, merciful, good leadership towards people who don't belong to them. And so in our traditions, we've got the example of the bad and we've got the example of the good. I often pray, God, please let us get to the place where we follow the example of the good rather than just the example of the bad. So because of that, I'm hopeful. And I know people from three traditions, from the three religions, that are working tirelessly to make that a reality. At times at a great cost to them, especially when the level of pain is very high from one community or another. And they're trying to diffuse the language of hate, the language of pain, the language of revenge, and they're trying to raise up the language of forgiveness, of mercy, of peace, of justice. And that's where we need to be going. And that's what we need to be talking. Recently, somebody said, I can't remember who it was that said it, we have blamed religion for all the conflicts that we have. Maybe we now need to deploy its power to bring people together, the three religions. I think it was George Carey who had the Azhar Declaration, working with the greatest Islamic teaching center. Maybe we need to be looking at something similar, bringing religious leaders at the high echelons of leadership to bring people together from the three faiths and begin to speak with one voice on this, acknowledging our atrocities, our contribution to that, and seeking restitution and forgiveness and work towards a lasting peace.
Before we end this conversation, Mones, I know so this podcast is a bilingual podcast. So obviously this interview is in English. There'll be other elements of this podcast will be in Welsh. So I know you've learned some Welsh during your time with us. So wyt ti'n gallu siarad Cymraeg, wy'n credu?
Dwi'n gallu deall Cymraeg, mwy a dwi'n gallu siarad Cymraeg. Dwi'n mwynhau gael, to take, if I may, gwasanaethau yn Gymraeg.
Yr offeryn.
Yr offeryn. Yr offeryn ac borel wedi, is it?
Wedi boreol.
Gweddio boreol. I can do the liturgy, okay?
Yes. Well, thank you. I didn't mean to jump on you there, Mones, but I thought we better...
No, I can do the liturgies. In fact, I have described myself not undermining at all. It's just that when you are in a really busy sort of lifestyle, it's hard to carve the time just to learn, and you need to. So I always say I do parrot Welsh well. I think we all do that. I understand about 60 to 70% of what people speak if I'm eavesdropping.
Yes.
But when it comes to speaking Welsh, it ties me in knots. And my brain wants to jump into Arabic or Hebrew to protect me from making the mistakes that a beginner would make. And that what has been a struggle for me. But I love the language, and I love singing the hymns in Welsh and the liturgy in Welsh.
Diolch am wrando, a Pasg Dedwydd I chi gyd. Thanks for listening, and a happy Easter to you all.